Hi there everybody and welcome back to another stock analysis video. Today we are going to be analyzing the company CCU, which honestly is a company that was brought up by one of my commenters, Apex Legends, saying, nice, can you check out CCU stock? What do you think? So CCU is actually a pretty interesting stock because, well, we don't really see the name here. However, you can see that it is in Spanish. So yeah, it's very interesting. The company is actually called Compañía Cervecerías Unidas SA, which is basically, Brewery Company United, or United Brewery Companies. And well, it is essentially a vendor from what I've seen when it comes to, what kind of stuff they provide. They have things like agua, bebida con gas, cerveza, energética y deportivas, which is like energy drinks, hard seltzer, jugos and nectars, which is just juice and nectars, otras bebidas, other beverages, piscos y licores, which I don't know what piscos means, but the other one is liquors, which all of these actually include several brands like we have here, Canada Dry and Pepsi. So this is essentially a vendor that conglomerates and sells all other beverages. So let's take a look at this company when it comes to their fundamentals and see what kind of price we can put on them using discounted free cash flow. So with that said, let's get started with this analysis. We are going to come right into the calculator, guys. CCU does not pay a dividend. So, this means that their cash flow is going straight into themselves to grow the company, to buy back shares, and of course, pay down their debts. Ticker symbol of course, CCU. Market cap of $2.5 billion. PE of 10.33 with its current share price of $13.51. So, this is pretty much just telling me that in accordance to their earnings, this actually might be a pretty good buy at a $13.51 price in accordance, again, to just their earnings. So we're going to take a look at other metrics, take a look at their shares outstanding, project that into the future, take a look at their cash flow, do the same thing, and then come up with a discounted price for this company. Looking at some fundamentals, starting of course with the net income 5 years ago of $210.7 million to 1 year ago of $233.8 million. Guys, that is an increase of 11%. However, as it stands, guys, this is looking very poor when it comes to their net income, right? 4 years ago is when they had their peak at $442.3 million. But ever since then, guys, the worst year was 2 years ago, which is understandable because of COVID, obviously. But then again, it is still pretty much just not impressive in the slightest. This is not increasing, and this is just barely above what the 5 year ago net income was. Looking now at the free cash flow, we don't see anything better. 5 years ago of $225.3 million to 1 year ago of $145.2 million. Now, this is actually even worse than the net income because this is actually a decrease of 36%. And they have a 5 year average free cash flow of $235.54 million. And if all of you guys know, free cash flow is the most important profit metric that company has because this is cash from operations less your capital expenditures. And this is what companies use to essentially pay for everything in the company, right? To pay down their debts, to buy back shares, to grow the business, and to even issue a dividend. So you do not want this number to be going down. And again, we see something similar, whereas 4 years ago, they had their best year at $433.7 million. So I highly suggest you guys take a look at what happened here 4 years ago because we see the same thing happen 4 years ago in the net income as well as the free cash flow. Coming now to the revenue 5 years ago of $2.7 billion. To 1 year ago of $2.9 billion. That is a small increase, guys, of 5.65%. And even though this is a little bit better than the net income and the free cash flow that we just saw, mainly because of the fact that, well, it's not as bad as it was when it comes to those two other profit metrics, this is still a pretty flat revenue, right? I mean, from 5 years ago to 4 years ago, they went down, and then from 4 to 3, they went down again. Then from 3 to 2, they went up, but then from 2 to 1, they went up. I mean, it is just all over the place. It's just not consistent enough for me to actually get excited about these numbers. Taking a look now at some balance sheet numbers, we got total assets and total liabilities. If they were to liquidate all of their assets, guys, would they be able to cover their liabilities? You do not want a company that can't do this, right? Because if a recession hits, or if just the economy goes down as a whole, then, well, a company that can't pay down their debts, then they will probably go bankrupt. Luckily, when it comes to CCU, they actually do have a good solid assets minus liabilities at $1.8 billion. Now, what is a little bit concerning though is the fact that within the past 5 years, they've actually decreased their assets and liabilities. Now, don't get me wrong, there has been some years where it has increased, like for example, we see here 5 years ago of around 1.99 billion to 4 years ago to 2 billion, and then they went down 3 years ago to 1.9 billion, and then to 2 years ago, they went up slightly to 1.98 billion, and then they went down 1 year ago to 1.67. So it's just again all over the place, but the general trend is that it is decreasing. Average total assets is around 3.5 billion, average liabilities around 1.6 billion, and doing this difference we get around 1.9 billion dollars. Now taking a look at the shares outstanding, a metric that people tend not to understand, overlook, or just simply don't care about. And unfortunately, this is a metric that you have to pay attention to because, well, this one tells you how much the company is diluting you as the investor. Most companies fail this, especially companies that aren't mega caps. Now, to my surprise, when I took a look at the shares outstanding, I was just like, there's no way. There is absolutely no way. I've only ever seen this in one other company, and they've actually bought back shares recently. Well, here we have CCU, 5 years ago of 369.5 million shares, to today, guys, of 369.5 million shares. On the 5 year, that is 0% increase or decrease, and from the previous year to the current year, that is also a 0% increase or decrease. They're essentially just keeping shares the same. So for all intents and purposes, this is a positive metric. You just don't want the company to be issuing shares. The fact that they're keeping it the same, good enough, right? They don't have to be buying back either, but you would like for them to be buying back, but just keeping it flat 0% works just as well. And lastly, looking at the cash and equivalents, they currently have $943 million with an average cash equivalents of around $468.35 million. Now time to make some assumptions, low, median, high, using 3 different factors: revenue growth, projected share buyback, and the required rate of return. Guys, for the revenue growth, I like to use Seeking Alpha's growth tab, looking at the revenue growth year over year, the revenue growth forward, and then making a conservative assumption between those two numbers. So this one was a little bit difficult for me to do because, again, the revenue growth, they were so significantly far apart, which makes it a little bit difficult, but nonetheless, I am still going to be fairly conservative when it comes to this revenue growth. For the projected share buyback, I'm going to be using the shares outstanding graph that we just saw. And lastly, for the required rate of return, keep it flat 10% to match the S&P 500 on the best years. So for the low assumption, let's say a revenue growth of 5%, projected share buyback of 0%. Guys, they have precedent on this, right? They haven't issued or bought shares like within the past 5 years. So I'm going to say that the lowest assumption that this will continue to happen. This comes out to be, guys, a target share price, not adjusting for debt, of $11.06. For the median assumption, revenue growth of 8%, predicted share buyback of 1%. Now, I know they don't have precedent for this, but I'm saying, let's say that they actually do begin to buy back shares. What would we like to pay for this company now? Well, this would be $12.38. And lastly, for the highest assumption, revenue growth of 11%, predicted share buyback of 2%, this comes out to be $13.82. And now let's adjust for debt. This is why we take a look at the cash and equivalents. And there is another metric in there when you fill out all the numbers for the calculator, and that is the net debt. So what you do is you take the cash and equivalents, you take the net debt, add them together, and then you add that to the market cap that the calculator comes up with. If they have more debt than cash, then this number comes down, and if they have more cash than debt, then this number comes up. So you can see it does come up all the way up to $12.57 for the low assumption, $13.90 for the median assumption, and lastly for my highest assumption, $15.36. Now I personally like to also add a margin of safety, 5, 10, and 15%, and in doing so, for the low assumption, this puts me to buy this company between $10.68 to almost $12. For the median assumption, it is $11.81 to $13.20, and for my high assumption, it is $13.05 to $14.59. Guys, the current share price is $13.51. So this is actually looking fairly interesting, right? In the target share prices, not adjusting for debt, you are essentially between the median and high assumptions. However, when it comes to the target share price adjusting for debt, well, this is looking like a pretty good buy, right? We have $13.90 all the way up to $15.36. And even adding the margins of safety, well, $13.20 is not far off, guys, from $13.51. So this really just depends up to what kind of assumptions you make. But according to mine, this might actually not be a bad buy as it stands, assuming that you like this company's fundamentals and what they bring to the table. Now, again, because these numbers are based off of the assumptions, I have this calculator, guys, available for free. Anybody can have it. I have this one, the book value one, and a REIT one, all available for free, as well as a dividend tracking sheet in my calculators playlist on my channel. So if you guys want to have calculators so that way you can analyze your own companies. If you have a company that, well, maybe they don't have capital expenditures, like for example, banks and insurances, you might want to use book value ratio instead. If you have a REIT, you want to use a REIT evaluation instead. So it really just depends up to what companies you guys want to analyze. And when it comes to discounted free cash flow, you want to be able to make your own assumptions, because at the end of the day, every investment is the present value of all future cash flow. So because this is not financial advice, I want you guys to have these calculators for free, make your own assumptions, and essentially come up with the numbers that fit your assumptions the best. All I'm asking for in return, guys, for these 3 free calculators and a dividend tracking sheet is just help me grow my channel. That's about it. We're up to what, 644 subscribers? That is absolutely insane. And honestly, thank you so much for everybody who has subscribed. And for all those of you who haven't subscribed, consider it. I'm giving out these calculators for free. All I'm asking for is 30 seconds of your time, guys. So just hit that like, hit that subscribe, and of course, share. You can even comment if you guys want a company for me to analyze, Legends Apex wanted me to do this one, and I'm here doing it. I also have somebody else that wanted me to do BWA, which I will do in just 1 second after I'm finished with this one. So if you guys got any suggestions, hit me up, right? Leave a comment and tell me what you guys would like for me to analyze. Again, just help me grow my channel and share with your friends if you have people that may want to learn how to invest using a fundamental basis. All in all, guys, when it comes to CCU, fairly surprising company. I was not expecting to be doing a Spanish company, I guess you could say. But nonetheless, when it comes to this, yeah, they're just not that good in my personal opinion, right? I mean, their net income is essentially, yes, it is increasing, but it is trending down. Their cash flow is trending down. The revenue is trending up slightly, but it is essentially flat. They have pretty good assets and liabilities, and the only good thing that they have so far is their shares outstanding, where they haven't increased it or decreased it, right? But overall, it's just, I don't know, it's just they don't pay a dividend, and if that cash flow was increasing, even if they didn't pay a dividend, I would be like, oh, this is actually good, but it's not increasing. So it's kind of difficult for me to tell where exactly this company is going, especially since we're having a lot more issues with the economy, at least here in the United States, right? We're having a lot more issues with the economy. People are probably going to spend less, and would you rather buy water or would you rather buy Pepsi? So that's just where I'm at with this company. But don't let my opinion stop you from buying this company if you so wish to buy it. That pretty much does it for this video. Like if you like, comment, subscribe. It really does help here with the algorithm on YouTube. As I said, you guys can follow me on my new tech sites. All the links are in the description, as well as a Let's Play channel. Link is also in the description. So if you guys want to see me play Stardew Valley with my girlfriend, you guys can follow me there. With that said, peace out and be on the lookout for the next stock analysis video.